The UK's new Prime Minister has his own way of communicating. Yes, Andy Burnham does speeches and interviews and articles, but there's also a lot of digital content, including online trends, videos, often on the move.
Your shots are nearly as short.
Jokes, music references, a lot of those. And he frequently responds to comments. Compared to his predecessors here in Downing Street, Andy Burnham is communicating differently, though, of course, he's not the first politician to use digital media. Donald Trump turned social media into a political weapon. In fact, we made a video all about that. I'll link to it in the comments. There's Zoran Mamdani.
I'm freezing. You're wrecked as the next mayor of New York City.
A digital A-game helped make him mayor of New York. And there's Nigel Farage, whose content racks up the numbers on social media. Here are the leaders of the 7 biggest parties in the UK, ranked by followers. On TikTok, Farage is top, Zach Polanski of the Greens second, though I should say some leaders, like Kemi Badenoch, post via their party's accounts. On Instagram too, Farage then Polanski have the most. On X, again Farage is first, Andy Burnham is second. In terms of followers at least, Nigel Farage is outpacing Andy Burnham. But what the new Prime Minister's been doing is getting noticed, not least because it's helped him get to number 10. In the late 90s, Andy Burnham was a special advisor to a cabinet minister. In 2001, he became an MP. Later in the noughties, he became a cabinet minister. From 2010, he was an opposition MP. And from 2017 till just the other day, he was mayor of Greater Manchester. He was elected 3 times. And he used Twitter, or X as it now is, throughout. But recently, there's been a gear shift, with new accounts on TikTok and Instagram, and a lot more content. Digital communication, in other words, what's being posted online, is an important part of the Burnham story. Let's look at what he's doing. To help me, I've sought out 3 perspectives, from an internet culture writer, a content producer, and first, a social media executive who has some observations on those who use social media well.
They've worked out what tone of voice works for them, how playful they can be, whether they want to be earnest, and you've got to go through the cringe and then sort of settle on something that works for you.
So just so I'm clear, you come through the cringe and if it goes well, you get to somewhere that isn't cringe.
There's definitely politicians that we've seen who've never made it
They've
through
never
the
made
cringe.
the transition. But you're saying Andy Burnham has?
I think he has. I think he's worked out that his tone of voice, his delivery, it's working, it's cutting through, it feels human, it feels like it's him.
There's another factor too. Andy Burnham is posting a lot.
You can't underestimate the frequency and volume. What we've worked out is that by not appearing in people's news feeds, but not appearing to do anything, you appear like you're not making progress.
In other words, you've got to be active to make this work, though voters may also want to know what you're going to do, something critics suggest has largely been missing. So, tone, authenticity, frequency, going through the cringe, all of this can help anyone who's trying to establish their voice on social media. And in May, the need to do this increased for Andy Burnham. Labour MP Josh Simon stood down to trigger a by-election in Makerfield in order for Andy Burnham to stand and, if he won, to try to become Prime Minister. The campaign video was trademark Burnham, a personal story, a focus on communities, a demand that our politics and our economy change, plus relaxed interactions and music by Elbow, James and Oasis. Though I'm afraid you'll have to take my word for that, as, for rights reasons, I can't include the music on YouTube. This 4-minute video has over 3 million views, though it does more to highlight challenges than explain how they'd be met. On the day of the Makerfield vote, there was another video with New Order providing the soundtrack. Again, you'll have to take my word for that. That evening, Burnham was declared the winner, and soon he was heading south to here in Westminster. He documented his first day back with a video and a selfie with Labour MPs. That morning, Sir Keir Starmer had resigned. And later in the week, Tory leader Kemi Badenoch attacked what Labour was doing.
To appease them, and now they've abandoned him. And what for? A pair of eyelashes and a black t-shirt.
Hours later, Burnham responded.
It's dark blue, actually.
Content from Andy Burnham has kept coming and coming. Let's assess it. The next person I sought out is a leading digital content producer.
The fact that he's holding the phone himself kind of says there's no one else there. And I think that's very unusual, right? Like in politics in general, to not have a team of people. And maybe there are 50 people behind this phone, but you know, the way that he swings it around and his moving, it feels very much like it's coming direct out of his brain, out of his mouth, and to me through social media.
He is very conspicuously tapping into various online trends, which can be a risky thing for politicians to do.
Yeah.
How do you assess how he's got on?
People love the 2000 throwback. Again, you look at the stats speak for themselves. I think that using trends is an easy win. It's like you're jumping on a sound or you're jumping on a something that is proven to work. And again, it's making you look like you actually, you know, consume the content. I think that that's the main thing, is that this makes Andy Burnham look like he sits in bed at night like the rest of us, doom scrolling on TikTok.
This is one of the more out there ones of the videos he's posted about his aura.
This feels try-hard. I think that this has to be made by someone else. There's
So
some content.
this is something that would be called a fan edit, right?
Yeah.
But it's been made by him, not by a fan.
You can't make a fan edit about yourself. I don't write the rules. It has to be done by a fan. Has to, like, if this was a repost, this would absolutely, if a fan had made this and he was reposting it, it would kill it. But this suddenly makes me feel like there's a team behind it. So I want to talk about the serving one. Again, he's using humour to go and land a political point. I'm like, that's funny, just on a base. If he wasn't a politician, that's a funny joke. And so on the basis that that's a funny joke, that's doing what TikTok wants, what the TikTok audience wants to see, is to be entertained and to laugh and to be like, huh. You know, you're laying in bed at midnight and you see this and you're like, huh. That's, you know, but actually what I'm getting served is served. Well, actually,
we're doing it now.
God. But actually, what I'm seeing is Andy Burnham going and giving food to volunteers.
All of this is quite a move from Andy Burnham, and it may not be disconnected from one key member of his team. This is Abby Tomlinson. She made her name as the teenager behind Millifandom, the 2015 online fan campaign around Ed Miliband. Now she's advising Andy Burnham on his social media strategy. But even if this content is working for a lot of people, what does that add up to? Because digital success doesn't necessarily equal political success. Kamala Harris can tell you all about that. Ahead of the 2024 US election, her digital operation was lavished with praise. And when Charlie XCX declared Kamala his brat, the internet melted down, or at least the left side of it did. The thing is, though, it didn't make a difference. Donald Trump won by a margin. Which has me wondering, when does and doesn't digital success count politically? Our third perspective is from a US internet culture writer. And we talked about Kamala Harris.
The social media was great, but I think a big letdown from that is no one was really clear what it was communicating. It was almost just kind of a vibe, but when it came to like going to the polls, it's like, what am I actually voting for? Ultimately, what I do think is important about Zohran Mamdani's campaign, that I think, especially when people are rushing to try and emulate it, overlook, is that it wasn't just that he had a flashy social media presence. It wasn't just that he was funny online. It was that he had very new, specific, and different policies that were extremely popular.
Kate, as an American learning about Andy Burnham through his social media, did it leave you with questions?
I did ultimately have to consult Wikipedia when it came to what actually is this person's belief, where do they come from, what have they worked on before, because his social media, while answering questions and speaking to voters, it's quite broad. It is a little bit like what everyone would say of like, we're going to make this better, we're going to make this a country for the people. We hear those platitudes a lot.
This isn't the only time I've seen it suggested that Burnham's social media is vibes over policy. We've started to get some detail in videos answering questions about Gaza, small businesses, supporting younger people, and he said reforming social care in England is a priority. That video also had a New Order soundtrack. Bear in mind, Andy Burnham wasn't elected as an MP standing on Labour's 2024 manifesto. He wasn't challenged in the Labour leadership contest. And then there are broadcast interviews. In the 2 months between standing in Makerfield and becoming Labour leader, we might have expected these to be more of a regular feature. That's not happened. though Andy Burnham has given interviews to the BBC, LBC and Goalhanger. We're very light on detail on what Andy Burnham wants to do. Running videos, Andy Cam, jokes about Count Binface, reposting New Order, all of this can help build connections with voters. So can highlighting things that aren't working. But there are no easy solutions here, given the UK economy's slow growth, given rising bills in welfare, health and defence. Andy Burnham's social media may need to provide more policy detail sooner rather than later. Detail some people may not want to hear. What will the tone and the message be now he's the man in charge? We've seen Andy Burnham recording videos in the back of a cab.
So it felt only right that I should do the same as I end this video, wearing a dark blue t-shirt, going through the cringe, and I'd be playing you music from a certain era as well, but for reasons I've already explained, I can't do that. Whether it's working for me or not, I'll let you decide, but it's definitely working for Andy Burnham. He has a different way of communicating, and it's helped him get all the way to number 10.